question remains with this watch. Did they go too far? Welcome back to the Chisholm Hunter channel. My name is Harrison, as always. And Tissot have a knack for hitting the nail on the head when it comes to quality versus price, or price versus quality. Basically being really affordable and having really good prices for what it offers. And this watch, the Sideral, is no different. But one thing I can't quite wrap my head around is the styling. The original Tissot Sideral was released in 1969, and it was the first ever fiberglass watch. The 1970s, or near to the 1970s, was a time of innovation. It was a time of being different, daring to dream, to have fun. We saw this in the music industry. We saw this in the style aspect of people from the 70s. Maybe not so much the architecture, but everything else. And that is what this watch is reminiscent of. It is a flashback to the 70s, to 1970s. It's that bold style of the 1970s, and I can understand that, and I can get on board with that. The colours are extremely vibrant, extremely eye-catching, and although they're too much for me, I can understand why they've used them. So let's take a look at the specs. Let's take a look at some of the innovation that's gone on in this watch. The case on this watch is cushion cut, and it has a couple of layers to it. It comes in at 41mm, which is quite big, and it does wear a little bit more chunky on the wrist because of how big that case is and because of that stainless steel around the bezel that kind of pops it out. That it kind of has a couple of layers of depth that makes it look that little bit bigger. Not to mention the fact that it has really bright colours on the face and the strap, which make it look that little bit bolder on the wrist. This model comes in at 14.4mm in thickness, and to me that's just a little bit too thick, but for what you get in this watch for £915, that is quite impressive. I must say that. Now when you get to the strap, it is kind of a plasticky feeling rubber strap. It's not a bad strap, but it's not for me. I have to say this. It is my duty to be honest on this channel, and that strap isn't for me. However, what I'm going to put to you at the moment is the fact that it does have an interchangeable strap. You can quite easily, like I did just there, pull the strap out, and when you take the strap off, it actually looks like quite a handsome watch. I think that genuinely it would look better with a different strap on that, either a NATO or a black rubber, something a little less bold. The strap on this model is of course yellow, like you can see here, and it has a notch just here and also a notch just here, and that's how you kind of tie it. That's how you pin it onto your wrist. Now it does come in red or blue variants if you don't like the yellow, so you kind of have a couple of colours to choose between. But the thing in my eyes, when it comes to colours on dials, the primary colours should always be quite neutral. Blacks, greys, white. Something that's not too aggressive in nature. And then you should have trimmings of bright colours to draw your eye. I feel I would maybe like this watch a little bit more if they had a dark aesthetic to the straps, because the face is actually quite good looking when you look at it on its own. Getting into the face of this model, and the case of this model is obviously cushioned cut, and it has a couple of layers to it, a couple of levels of depth to it, starting with the top layer, which is sapphire crystal glass, which is of course really scratch resistant and pretty brilliant. Then you get to this blackened PVD bezel with white numerals. Then below that you have a circular steel inlay, which plays wonderfully with that carbon case. It is really quite good looking, and actually it's really cool engineering to see all these metals and carbon and PVD bezel playing together. On the underbelly of this watch we have an open caseback displaying the ETA powered movement, which is a Powermatic AT movement. I've said this in other reviews and we'll touch on it in a bit, but they are powerhouses of movements. The crown on this model actually comes in stainless steel, and that stainless steel is a lot brighter. It's kind of like polished stainless steel, and the contrast between the black carbon and the polished stainless steel in terms of the way it catches the light is pretty striking. The design details on this watch are quite impressive. Now, this watch does have links to sailing, so it goes to water resistances of 300 meters, and we'll get onto that in a second. But remember that Chisholm Hunter are authorized retailers of Tissot watches. If you're looking to get your first watch in the collection, or add to the collection, head to chisholmhunter.co.uk. And what I'll do for you is I'll link it below. This watch's bezel is in PVD and it is unidirectional for those divers out there, and it also features a regatta timer for those sailors out there. Now the date window is at the 3 o'clock mark, which I'm not overly enthusiastic about. You guys know how I like my 6 o'clock date windows, but it is very visible and it has a white border around that date window, kind of drawing your eye into that date window. As you can see here, the lume on this watch is pretty damn impressive. It is a colourful throwback to the 70s, and the fact that you have it on the bezel, on the face, on the hands, for the price that this comes in at is pretty damn impressive. Now, no, it's not the brightest lume in the world, but for the money you're paying, it's pretty damn good. The movement on these models is pretty damn impressive. But before we get onto the movement of these models, if you could hit that subscribe button, if you've ever enjoyed any of the Chisholm Hunter videos, I would really appreciate it. It really helps us with what we're doing, and you guys are what makes this channel, so thank you. The movement in this model is of course fully automatic. It is the Powermatic 80.111 movement, and this is an ETA movement. But, like I've said in tons of other videos, just because it's an ETA does not mean it's a bad movement. This movement is the caliber 11.5, and it comes in at 25.6mm in diameter. It has a power reserve of 80 hours. But the question remains, has Tissot taken it too far? And it's kind of a complicated question because depending on the way you look at it, you could say yes, but also you could say no. Without these, without the strap, I don't think so. I think it's a pretty impressive watch, especially for the money, and I like the splashes of colour and the functionality that's added to this watch. I'm a sucker for style. I like the way that the metal plays against the carbon. I like the fact that they've even used carbon in the first place. I think it's an underrated material. And the fact that you get carbon in a £915 watch is mental. In terms of the actual watch, the actual product, no, they haven't gone too far. I mean, it's big, it's bold, it's not for everyone, but it's nice. It's a nice product, a bloody good price. However, I'm not sure about this. I would just much rather a darker styled rubber strap or NATO strap or whatever it is. That's what I would rather, but that's my personal preference. And I would love to know what you guys think. Do you guys think that Tissot have gone too far with this model, or do you think they've hit it on the head? Thank you so much for watching this Chisholm Hunter video. My name is Harrison, as always. And just to let you guys know before I go, we do have a new members club called the After Hours Club. If you want to join our channel, and you can see that on the homepage, and support this community, you get access to a ton of extra features as well as exclusive content. Thank you so much for supporting this channel. Genuinely, it really means the world, and I'll see you soon.